So we've talked about why we need text structures and why information is organized in ways when we're reading to help us understand it. So now we're going to actually talk about those different text structures. So the directions here say take out your text structure notes foldable, and it should look like this. It's folded in half. It has a place for you to list the 5. And then on the inside, as you go through each Edpuzzle, it's going to tell you what questions we ask to figure out if it's compare and contrast, what signal words or transition words we can look for to help us figure it out, and an effective graphic organizer to use to organize that information. And so after each example, we're going to do a sample paragraph, and that might be a good example for you to write in here. Now, you don't have a whole lot of space, so just do your best. Really, this is just a good practice. And what you'll end up with after doing all 5 of the Edpuzzles are notes that look kind of like this. Okay? So the very first text structure we're going to talk about is called compare and contrast. And when we compare and contrast things, we are looking for what is being compared. How are they similar? How are they different? Compare is how are they similar? Contrast is how they're different. And so you really can't compare. You can't really say something is similar without also talking about the differences. So when you're reading and you come across a compare and contrast, some words that you might notice are both, also, similarly, to, the same. And then some that show contrasting are however, differ, but, yet, while, or on the other hand. So we're going to look at a paragraph and kind of look at how we can recognize those signal words. A lot of times we call signal words transitions when we're writing. So the first type of graphic organizer here is just a little chart where you put your topic, the 2 things that you're comparing, how they're alike, and then how they're different. The most common form we probably use is a Venn diagram. The only thing I really don't like about the Venn diagram sometimes is if you have a lot of similarities, it's kind of hard to fit them all inside this little skinny box. And so to make up for that, I like to sometimes use this compare-contrast matrix as well. This is also looking at more specifically what attribute you're comparing. So maybe it's the appearance, the purpose behind it. So you get a little bit more specific. So let's take a look at a paragraph. And we're going to see, if you have this in front of you, I'd have you highlight. When we start doing some of this practice, I'll ask you to highlight signal words or highlight the transitions as you find them. It says, in recent years, email has eclipsed traditional postal mail. Both means of communication allow writers to connect with another person one-on-one. They also require the sender to write and communicate clearly. However, snail mail can take days to be delivered. Snail mail can take days to be delivered. Email is delivered almost instantly. Also, some writers believe that taking the time to print out a typed document or handwrite a letter leads to more thoughtful communication. So taking a look at that and your chart, I want you to see if you can't find some of the signal words in here that help us understand that this is organized in compare and contrast. And here's what I found: both, also, however, and additionally. So that tells me that somewhere in that sentence, I'm going to see a similarity. Somewhere in this sentence, I'll see a similarity. Somewhere in this sentence, I'm going to see a difference because it says however. And so I'm going to go through the paragraph. Now, something to note, not every single sentence is necessarily going to have a signal word, so you really need to just really think about what it is that's being written about. So if I were to go make a graphic organizer, and this is what I want you to try to do in your little box on your note paper, just so that you have a good example, is draw a Venn diagram. And I know it's going to be small, so if you can't fit all of the information in there, that's fine. When we do a Venn diagram, we label the things that we're writing about. So in that paragraph, it was talking about email versus post mail, or sometimes called snail mail. And then in the middle, what they have in common. So I went through in order, and the very first sentence talked about how email is more common in recent years. And then it started talking about some similarities. They both allow writers to connect with another person one-on-one. They both require the sender to write and communicate clearly. One thing that they said that was just specific to post or snail mail is that it can take days to be delivered, and that email is delivered almost instantly. And then the last one was about the handwriting. The post mail or the snail mail is handwritten, and so some writers think it leads to more thoughtful communication. Okay, so we looked at a paragraph, we looked at the signal words, and we looked at a way in which that we could organize that information when we get done reading it that's going to help us remember it. Okay, and then you're going to go on to your next Ed puzzle and learn about the next text structure.